This is exciting. Okay, as we heard, I'm Mark. More importantly, though, for those of you who don't know, I'm joined today by Alicia. And Alicia's important in this story because we heard Shopify Plus started a few years ago, and Alicia was actually one of the first sales reps on the front line, working with merchants, trying to figure out what is this market space? What is it these merchants need? What are the gaps? How can we build something to go out and actually help solve this? And over the course of a few years, Alicia became one of our top sales reps. And last year, she came and said, I want to go work with the partners. And after crying for a while, I said, that's actually a really good idea. And so she now, for the last 9 months, has been spending her time with you, our partners and agencies, helping to instill knowledge and wisdom on how best to win deals. And so we're super excited to have Alicia with us today.
Thank you, Mark.
So before we begin, actually, housekeeping really quick. We are planning on having some time at the end for 3 or 4 questions, so we will try to do some Q&A. And certainly Alicia and I are around for the next 48 hours. We'd love to talk to you guys. If you need to, code is Y2Z or Z if you're an American. I'm Canadian, I'll go with Z on this one. So our talk today is focused on really how can we work together to win more Shopify Plus deals. Certainly that's in my interest, but more importantly, it's in your best interest. And the agenda is fairly straightforward. First off, we're going to talk about how to identify these potential Plus merchants. What do they look like? And second, we're going to review some of the tips and tricks around how we go and find close business with these merchants. And so we're focused on how we're going to help win these opportunities together. So that's what we're going to cover over the next half an hour or so. Again, we'll do some Q&A at the end.
Great. So let's start with how to identify potential prospects for Shopify Plus. We all just heard Hannah's talk. I don't think any of you got up and left, so this is good. We're all here. But we'll just quickly review what she covered. The first group of merchants we work with might fall in the emerging category. These guys are probably newer to the e-commerce game. Their business comes with a pretty low level of complexity, and you might identify them coming off of a starter platform or Shopify itself. The next group is the expanding merchants. These guys are starting to pick up, see some traction, they're expanding. Their business probably comes with a medium level of complexity, and you might identify them coming off a competing mid-market platform. And the final group is the mature merchants. And these guys are more technically complex, largely because they're old, they've been around for a while. And you might identify them coming off of a bespoke platform that was built just for them, or an on-prem solution. But why? Why is this important? Well, it's key to understand the type of merchant you're working with so you know what stage they're at, roughly what size. However, it's not enough. You can't simply go to the market, identify a fast emerging brand and say, hey, they need Shopify Plus. That won't cut it. Instead, we need to dig deeper and find out why they're talking to us and why they're even considering re-platforming, because it's usually no walk in the park, so there's got to be something driving that. From here, we commonly see 2 scenarios. The merchant is either in pain or the merchant wants to grow, and they come talk to us. Since pain is usually something that can't be ignored, we'll discuss this type of merchant first. Pain merchants are those who already have problems in managing the day-to-day of their e-commerce platform. That pain might be starting to become unbearable, they've put up with it for long enough, and they're ready to accept that they need a change, and they evaluate other platforms on the market. To help you better understand what some of our pain merchants look like, we'll talk through some of the common scenarios we encounter and share some merchant stories. When a business has inventory and shipping issues, it's usually a great indicator that pain exists. An example of this is Campus Protein. Campus Protein is a company that rush delivers vitamins and supplements to more than 250 college campuses across the United States. So having accurate inventory count and an efficient shipping method are key to the success of their business. Between the years 2012 and 2015, Campus Protein hopped around to 3 different platforms. I'll do the math for you. That's 1 a year. That's a lot. And none of these platforms did the trick. They either crashed, they were too expensive, or didn't have the features that they needed to support their business model. In September of 2015, Campus Protein approached Shopify Plus. And they made the migration over to us, largely due to natively built integrations like Uber Rush, which really support their efficient delivery, same-day service for vitamins and supplements. Today, these guys are still the kings of Campus Protein, but they've got less headaches and more money in their pockets from Shopify Plus. When a merchant starts to seek international expansion, chances are there'll be some pain involved. An example of this is Skinny Dip. Skinny Dip London is a contemporary accessories retailer based out of the United Kingdom who started to see traffic driven to their site from the United States. Shortly thereafter, this US customer base got frustrated and demanded Skinny Dip that they wanted to be able to pay and transact in the US dollar. Skinny Dip was already on the Shopify platform and made the decision to seamlessly upgrade to Shopify Plus, where they could take advantage of these multiple instances, allowing for that international growth and to sell and transact in the US dollar. And finally, nothing is more painful than having your site crash during the time it counts the most, either when you're launching a sudden promotion, when something has spiked viral interest on your website, or over the course of Black Friday, Cyber Monday. As we saw in the video, Gymshark is a perfect example of this. When they overloaded their infrastructure, their site crashed on 2015, and that was it. They threw in the towel, they migrated to Shopify Plus, and today, as you saw, they're one of the fastest growing companies, and they do huge product launches on Shopify Plus flawlessly. Their pain is gone. So now you should have an idea of some of the common pain scenarios we see, whether from site crashes, simply too expensive to manage, or lacking the features that a business needs to succeed. And so next, we'll talk about our growth merchants. Growth merchants are those who are growing quickly and recognize that they need to find a platform that will scale alongside them and support this growth. Otherwise, they risk jeopardizing their business. If a merchant is successful in their own native country, they'll start to look abroad and maybe see if there's other markets that their business model may appeal to. This is exactly what 3 Claps did. 3 Claps was started by a Korean entrepreneur who had the goal of making little girls' special occasion dresses more affordable for parents. They started in South Korea, and the business really took off. They saw a huge success, and then they looked abroad to the United States to see if they could fill a gap in the market there, which they could. They quickly captured the attention of Silicon Valley VCs, which prompted the 3 Claps team to do a thorough investigation of all the platforms on the market that could support this planned international hypergrowth they were driving towards. They were already on Shopify, and their decision was to make the seamless upgrade to Shopify Plus, similar to the Skinny Dip team, where the Shopify Plus license includes multiple instances, so they could start selling in the US dollar as well. And as a bonus, they could leverage the best practices that the Merchant Success Manager would share with them. Another growth merchant to keep your eye out for is the one who sees success on a crowdfunding platform. An example of this is Purple. Purple is an innovative sleep technology company who launched on Kickstarter with one product, the signature Purple mattress. They had a goal of raising $25,000, and they hit that in just a matter of days. And by the end of the campaign, they ended up raising over $175,000, 7x their original goal. The founders of Purple knew they were onto something, and he immediately started to research the market to find a platform that would be suitable to support their fast emerging brand. In the end, they chose to go with Shopify Plus because they knew internally they had limited IT resources that they could dedicate to the platform, so they needed something that could easily scale up alongside them in the off chance that the Purple mattress company saw continued success, which it has. And finally, this is my favorite growth scenario, and it starts with a large CPG called Mondelez, who at first glance may be an unlikely prospect for Shopify Plus. However, this mature merchant was wanting experimental growth, which made them a perfect candidate. It started in August of 2015 when the Oreo team approached Shopify Plus with a marketing campaign idea that they wanted to execute on in Q4 2016. Again, I'll help you guys with the math. That's 14 months in advance they came to talk to us. They had a vision to create hype and inspire new brand growth for the Oreo cookie team. And they thought that an e-commerce campaign would be the perfect way to do this. The sales team spoke through all of their ideas, and everything could be done on the platform. So we challenged them to move that campaign up and execute in Q4 2015, which they never thought possible. They were very pleasantly surprised to be up and running in about 2 months. And the campaign was extremely successful. They had coverage across not only their online store, but through many of the social apps like Facebook through native integrations. So the moral of this story is that while a large CPG may not seem like the prime candidate, if you dig a little deeper, there might be some individual brands within the company that are prime for experimental growth, so it's worth having the conversation.
So now that we've heard some of their stories, we've talked a bit about, where do they come from, what do they look like, how do we start to think about this? What are some common indicators that we can use, and is there a bit of a taxonomy we can put in place to help you better recognize these opportunities in the market? So in many cases, they're reaching out already. They're calling us, they're calling you, they're saying, hey, I'm in pain, I need help, something isn't working, help me. In a lot of cases, as you heard Lauren talk about earlier, we have a sales team, we're building a sales team. And we spend a lot of time reaching out to merchants saying, hey, you may not even recognize the pain you're in, or we see opportunity for growth, we should talk about that. So let's first of all step back and let's have a look at our pain merchants and see if we can create some classification to help us out as we think through this. Our first group, as we think about it, are cost fatigued. And cost fatigued are pretty well as they sound. This is classically our on-premise merchants. They're simply tired of paying the dollars required to maintain their stores. They're spending huge amounts of money on software, security patches, software updates, let alone servers, bandwidth, infrastructure, and unfortunately for many of them now, looking into 18, potentially replatforming their entire system. They're often mature merchants. They've been building for quite some time, and they're simply saying, this doesn't make sense, this ROI doesn't work, we need to find something new. The second group are the feature limited. And feature limited are generally growing very quickly, and they're just starting to face off against the gaps and the roadblocks in the current system. They're often coming off lighter weight or starter systems that were really great to get them off the ground quickly, but now they're going, man, it's just not working anymore. The complexity of my business is demanding I find something better. And so they're raising a hand going, I've got a problem, I'm in pain, help. And the last group that we'll commonly bucket into are what we call our kind of scared of success. And I'm saying this, I'm not saying they're scared of actually being successful, but they're scared of what success, rapid success, would mean to their business. This is our Black Friday, Cyber Monday crowd. This is Gymshark. This is exactly where Gymshark found. And in a moment when something went incredibly right, it was the best thing ever. Increasing sales, huge traffic, the opportunity to expose their brand to an entirely new audience, something broke. And instead of celebration, it turned into just a world of hurt and a world of pain. Again, very common are on-prem. They're doing everything they can to build the system they believe they need to maintain the volume, and something amazing happens, and all of a sudden it's a nightmare. So now we've talked about some of our pain buckets. Let's talk about our growth side. And in many ways, growth merchants are very similar to pain. The difference is that they're looking ahead. They've got a little more foresight and they're saying, man, if I don't do something now, there's going to be a problem. We need to talk now. And common themes here are scale and robustness. Very common issues. The first group are the expanders. This is 3 claps. This is skinny dip to the stories that Alicia told us, where they're looking outside their borders now. Business is growing, they are growing, and they start seeing international expansion, and with that comes incredible complexity. Very often, they're on smaller, earlier, lighter weight systems. Again, great for getting them off the ground and building the brand to where it is, but simply not going to enable them to do what they want to do. The second group are scalers. And scalers are really similar to that scared of success group. The difference is, again, they're at the front end going, holy mackerel, if I do what I'm going to do, like we're in trouble. If we actually succeed, if my plan works, this thing that I've built is not going to be able to handle it. Very often, again, on premise, they've built the system they think is going to be great, and it got them to where they are today, but it's simply not going to get them to where they want to go tomorrow. And the last group are the planners. Planners are fascinating. You work with lots of planners. Great stories. They're the ones that call and they're like, hey, I'm going to be a 30 million business in like 12 months. I got it's amazing. It's going to be awesome. And the nice thing about planners is they're raising a hand early saying, all right, I got a plan. It's incredible. Help me build my plan. The other great thing about them, though, is while they're masters of their domain, they're generally pretty honest about, I'm not the master of your domain or our domain. And so they usually are pretty upfront saying, I need help to build what I want to build. And many of you are working with them today.
Great. So we've just talked through some common merchant types, the emerging, the expanding, the mature. We've seen whether they're motivated due to pain or motivated due to growth. And Mark's just talked through some common indicators. The next step from here is to actually have a conversation and validate if they're indeed a good prospect for Shopify Plus. Is it worth pursuing this conversation? Prior to speaking to them, we recommend you do some basic research, see what their current shop looks like. Are there any special features or requirements you should be aware of? Use a tool like Built With and see what their current tech stack is. And then we suggest trying one of the following questions. The first question is, what a great business, Mr. Customer. Tell me about it. And this is a great way to open up any sales prospecting call. Everybody loves talking about themselves, so what better way than to ask them, how did your business get started? Where are you guys at today? What's on the horizon? It'll get the merchant talking, opening up to you, and hopefully their answers will help you better understand their business. To give you an idea of what this looks like in real life, Mark and I will quickly role play some sales scenarios. I'll be the sales rep, back to my roots, and he'll be the customer. So Mark, I noticed that your company, Mark's Remarkable Swim Trunks, is seeing huge success. It started off as a blog in 2014 that you wrote while hanging out on the beaches of Mexico, watching the passersby, but today it's growing insanely fast. So I'm wondering, how did it all get started from you? How did you make the switch from content to commerce?
I have no idea. Pants are overrated.
Another great question to ask is, what has growth looked like for your business over the last few years? Similar to the first question, this is great to get the merchant talking, opening up to you about their business, some basic size and growth metrics. Sometimes they'll be reluctant to share this information with you, especially if it's your first sales call. Trust maybe hasn't been established yet. So a good tip is that you can make some assumptions and ask them to confirm, and that'll help you gauge where they're at. So again, we'll quickly role play this. So Mark's Remarkable Swim Trunks are all the rage. I'm literally seeing them everywhere, maybe in the audience. And I'm guessing your year-over-year growth is something like 200%. I'm also curious, what GMV are you tracking towards for 2017?
Huge, Alicia, huge. Third question that we're going to dive into is usually focused on the technology or the tech stack they're using. So the question's something like, hey, I notice you're on platform X, and we've talked to many merchants who are dealing with pain Y. And much like you, we deal all day with merchants running on all different kinds of technology. And in the process of having conversations, we learn about strengths and weaknesses. And so simply, we want to ask questions to start digging in. Are they even aware of them? Are they aware of the gaps or the limitations or the pain? How are they thinking about dealing with it moving forward? So in a role play, Alicia, I see that you recently purchased Mark's Remarkable Swim Trunks for an enormous sum of money. Mark's very happy, by the way, and he's going to Mexico and he's done in San Fran. However, I noticed in your growing business that you're built on an on-premise solution. And we're dealing with a lot of merchants today who are really worried about what the future is going to look like as they grow and how they're going to justify the cost. And I'd like to understand, how do you think about this? What are you doing about it?
I haven't thought about it, so help me.
Perfect. We just saw 3 great questions we can use to open up conversations with merchants. So what now? Call us. Please call us. And I don't say this to be trivial. I'm not trying to be trite. I'm not trying to insult intelligence in the audience. But this is seriously the best time to give us a call and engage us, to bring us into the conversation, to help equip you to better handle those, better handle those calls. Let's pause here for a second. So we've talked about prospects. We've talked a bit about how we see the market. We see our merchants as emerging, expanding, mature. But as Alicia showed us, it's not enough. And so we need to dig in. What is the pain? What is the growth opportunities that maybe they see or maybe they don't? Are they on a starter system, simply crumbling under the weight of their growth? Perhaps they've built on an on-premise solution. It's cumbersome. And the dollars they're spending are brutal. The ROI simply isn't there for them anymore. And we just looked at a few questions we can ask. Tell us about your history. Where'd your business come from? What are your growth plans? What do you see for the future? And let's look at your technology. What tech stack are you looking at? And when you're doing this properly, it's easy, isn't it? Is that it?
I wish this process was that simple, but I speak from experience. It doesn't always work that way. Sometimes you'll get into a conversation with a merchant and they'll come to the table with pre-existing concerns or objections about Shopify Plus. We've spoken to the sales team and put together a list of the top 5 most commonly heard objections you might see in a sales call about Shopify Plus. So we're going to walk through those now and give you some best practices, how to handle or address those concerns. The first one is that Shopify is only for small merchants and my business is too big. This is false and should definitely be challenged. Shopify was purposefully designed to enable the entrepreneur. Shopify Plus is purposefully designed to enable high growth, high volume, big merchants. So the best practice here is to step back and ask them, what does too big mean to your business? Oftentimes you'll encounter merchants who inflate their own business. They think they're bigger than they are. Maybe they're a bit of a dreamer, which is great, but you need to do some probing to gauge where they're actually at, and then in the process maybe deflate their ego a little bit. So some great stats you can share is you can let them know there's around 400,000 merchants on the Shopify Plus platform, and we have Shopify Plus clients processing billions of dollars a year flawlessly. If they think they're too high volume, ask them, how many checkouts per minute do you typically drive to your site? You can let them know the Shopify Plus platform can handle around 6,000 checkouts a minute, no problem. So at the end of the day, they're probably not too big for Shopify. The next objection is, show me an example of a Shopify Plus merchant who's selling over $30 million in the European luxury goods market. For this one, again, you need to step back and ask, why is this example relevant to your business? What does a specific GMV range prove? For this example, you could see someone who sells 3 transactions at $10 million a pop. It's a pretty luxurious item. Or you could see 1 million transactions go through at $30 to equate that 30 million GMV. So chances are there's a deeper root concern here, and it's your role to figure it out. Are they asking this question due to social validity reasons? They don't want to be the first European luxury goods brand on the platform? And if that's the case, great. We can probably pull an example to share and maybe put their minds at ease. If the concern is that they're asking for this example because they think $30 million is too big, well, remember how we just overcame objection number 1? The third objection is that Shopify Plus can't handle multi-currency or multi-location. And as partners in our ecosystem, you should all be aware that this is definitely false. Both of these are possible on Shopify Plus. Shopify Plus license includes 10 instances, which will facilitate that multi-currency. And as for multi-language, the front end of Shopify is fully customizable. So you can make this happen or use some third-party off-the-shelf apps. The fourth objection is that all Shopify stores look the same. I know I've heard this one. And this is false, but maybe it's a tiny bit true. With around 400,000 merchants on the platform, chances are there's some merchants who've gone to our theme store, chosen a free theme, downloaded it, uploaded their products, and they've not made many customizations, which will truthfully result in some cookie-cutter looking sites. However, at Shopify Plus, it's a different conversation. The front-end structure is fully customizable, and that's the value that you bring. As partners, you make the platform look, feel, function as uniquely as the merchant wants. And the fifth objection sounds like this. I have really complex back office systems, and Shopify Plus won't give me the freedom of open source. This statement should be challenged because Shopify has many standardized APIs, which will provide them flexibility to connect to their complex back office systems, to their 3PLs, to their PIMs, etc. It's true, we're not open source, but we do offer lots of freedom and customization options. And as a bonus, we take away the headaches of hosting and infrastructure maintenance, security patches, etc. All things that usually come hand in hand with open source software.
Let's tie all this together now. You've done a great job. You've done a marvelous job. You found a great prospect. They're a good fit for your business. You believe they're a great fit for our business. You picked up a phone, you called us. Fantastic, great. We're all engaged. What now? What do we expect? How should this relationship unfold? Well, first of all, let's get on a phone. What do you see? What's the opportunity? We have a sales team. They would love to get on the phone and talk to you what they know about the merchant. We're combing the market. We have like literally thousands of conversations a month. We'd love to share with you what we've experienced. What do we maybe know about the merchant, the technology they're using, or others similar to them? Second, we'll talk about strategy. How do we want to work this one together? What role do you want to play? What role do you want us to play? How should we approach this merchant? What are some of the issues that we think are going to come up? And let's agree on what that interaction is going to look like and how we support one another. Next, we'll loop in a solution engineer. If you haven't dealt with our solution engineering team, they're incredible. They're amazing. They've got tons of experience on our platform and others, And they'll often come in and have a look at what we're building. Does it make sense? Technically, is this correct? Are there any red flags or gaps, things we haven't thought of? And they're often a good gut check of, hey, maybe there's some growth opportunity that we haven't thought about. And they can have a look and see what that looks like. On our side, we'll price out the Shopify Plus portion of the solution. You'll price out yours. On our side, we'll issue a contract for Shopify Plus to the merchant, and then it's easy. They sign it, we celebrate. I tell Lauren we got a merchant, we should go celebrate somewhere. He says get back to work, and we go help another merchant. That's how we'd love to see this work. And when it works beautifully.
So that's the process, and you, our partner community, are so important to us. You drive enormous amounts of GMV through the clients you work with, and you introduce us to and continue to support some incredible brands that we've seen earlier. We've worked with you thousands of times before, and over that time, we've developed some pretty good best practices that we'd like to follow together. So given this is a partner conference, what better time than now to review those? Best practice number 1 is to engage with the Plus sales team early. Once you've identified a potential prospect, please call us. Your rev share will not be affected. You get full pop. We're here to work as one team with you. Our sales team has been expertly trained to sell our platform, and we count on you to expertly sell the services that you add to complement the platform for our merchants. The next best practice is around communication. Transparency and communication are key to any good relationship. And this is true in your partnership with us. You and your partner manager, along with sales reps involved, should be communicating regularly to align on pipeline, discuss strategy, and work together to win the merchant. And the third best practice is around collaboration. We're both working towards the same goal, to get that client to do business with us. So collaboration is key. And I know these best practices probably sound a bit repetitive, but the more we act as one team, the more we communicate, and the more we truly collaborate, the better aligned we can be to strategically approach and win business together with the merchant.
However, we've also had thousands of these interactions with both you and the merchants, and we see times where it doesn't work necessarily the way it should. And there's some common themes that come out there as well. So let's review those really quick to make sure we avoid them moving forward. So the first is simply we were kept away from the merchant. We were kept in the dark. As Alicia noted, rev share doesn't change. We're 100% aligned with you. Our goal here is to help merchants, help reduce pain, help find new opportunities for them to grow. And so we're very aligned with you. And the more involved we are, the better equipped we can be, the better equipped we can make you to have those conversations with the merchant. The second focuses on information and accuracy. And this usually happens when we're not looped in early enough or not looped in frequently enough in the conversation. And it's generally inadvertent, but incorrect information may be given around our pricing structure. Potentially some kind of promised discount or some kind of promotion that we're running for a period of time. Or certain features or functions that are believed to be in or out of the software. And this gets really awkward for us. And it gets awkward because when we enter into the conversation, it's an awkward conversation with you guys, but also we have to go to the merchant and start rewinding a little bit. And that's not a good place to be because in the process we erode trust. And if we're not careful, we actually risk their commitment to change. And the third and the last is we just get stuck in a box. And this happens most commonly with pain merchants. Pain merchants come and go, hey, I got a problem. And we look and we go, yeah, we can solve that problem. We got this. This is awesome. And I hear it all day long. We have great conversations. This is fantastic. We can solve the pain. The problem is that often the pain they're bringing to us is fairly pedestrian. I need to go global. I need to think about multilingual. That's great, but that's fairly table stakes stuff. So we can do it, but there's lots of solutions that can do it. And if we don't get the opportunity to expand the conversation and actually try to broaden the thinking, at the end of the day, it's us versus. And as a quick aside, I've had many conversations with you guys who are building out sales teams within your organizations. As you do, watch for this. Salespeople love having conversations where they can address pain because it feels good. The merchant's got a problem and I can answer it, and that's a great conversation. And you'll hear them on the phone, it's great, they get off, high five, that was beautiful, man, we got this one. But any good customer, what are they doing? As soon as they're done with you, they're calling your competitor, and they're calling your competitor, and they're calling your competitor. And they're having the same conversation, and every competitor is going, yeah, we can totally do that. And the conclusion of all of those conversations is, what's your price? And that's was going to say shitty, but it's a shitty place to be.
You just said it.
We're friends. We can say it. It's a shitty place to be. We don't want to be there. So something to watch for as you build out your own sales teams. You now have a better understanding of how we see the world when it comes to prospects and how we like to work with you to win those prospects. We talked about our common merchant types, our emerging, our expanding, our mature. We talked about the growth and the pain, and we talked through a high-level taxonomy of how we see it and how we think about it. And we reviewed some great questions that we can ask to help understand what their world looks like. We just reviewed some best practices on how we work together and some things to avoid when we work together. But at the end of the day, I realize it's warm in here, it's like 3 o'clock. If there's nothing you take out of this, call us. Please call us. There's nothing more than we love than to engage with you guys and help win business for your business and certainly for Plus. Alicia, you got anything else to share?
I'll always take the last word. So as cheesy as it is, teamwork makes the dream work. So let's work together and win more Shopify Plus deals. Thanks.
So we got about 9 minutes. We'll see how many questions we can get through. So we'll start right off the top as we try to read these out. In fact, do you want to read it while I answer the first one? So the first question is simply, do we have any B2B merchants? Yes, we do.
Oh, okay.
No, sorry. You're going to hear this afternoon as we get into a bit of product, we're going to talk a little bit more about what we're doing on the wholesale and B2B side. It's an area that we see a lot of growth. A lot of merchants come to us and say, hey, we got this B2C thing going. It's great, but a rapid area of growth for us is thinking about B2B. And so we have been putting energy and time in thinking about it and engineering resource against it. So you're going to get more on that this afternoon. But yes, we are. And that's an area that we've been fairly active on since the beginning of the year, and we're spooling it up. Some of our sales reps are active on that file right now. And so we do, and you'll start to see some of those stories emerge. We'll start to share some of those stories in the coming months. But if you, and by the way, sorry, if you have B2B opportunity or you have wholesale opportunity that you think could use an online solution to improve their world, yeah, totally call us.
Next question is, how do you battle merchants with preconceived notions that Shopify is a step down or not open sourced extendable? So this one probably falls into one of those objections. People who come to the table with that preconceived notion, there might be a deeper reason as to why they think that. And you know what, I'll openly say it. We take part of the blame because for 2 years, Lauren did make us shut up and not talk about Plus. So it's just a bit of lack of awareness in the market too. People aren't understanding that we're real, we're here, we've got 2,500 merchants, we're supporting some incredible brands. So it might just be overcoming that preconceived notion and having that education conversation. And for this one, loop in a sales rep, they'll be there to work with you.
Let's see.
I think I screwed it up because I didn't know how to archive.
Sorry? The questions on the app? Enter the code to ask the questions. I believe there's a question button.
In the menu, there's a Q&A.
That's a great question. I don't know. I'm answering the questions.
At the bottom of the app, there's a More tab.
Sorry?
At the bottom of the app, there's a More tab. If you click into the More tab, you should be able to ask the questions using code YTZ.
So one of the questions here is around the success managers and how proactive should the merchant success manager be for a client post-launch? And by the way, the next question says Cornell for president, so way to go, Alicia. So how engaged and how active should the merchant success manager be? That's a question with kind of a myriad of answers. Super depends. We have a lot of merchants who come to us who are extremely sophisticated. They know what they're doing, and they're in great shape. They don't need a lot of hand-holding. We have some who come, and it's like every day is a new disaster. And so they need lots of hand-holding, lots of help. The merchant success team is really there strategically to help give advice, help think about the future as we release new product, as we think about new innovation to help translate that down to our merchants and understand really how they're trying to grow and what they're trying to do. And so there's no real defined answer for it. I'm happy to tell you if there's certain questions on that one after, I'm happy to address them, but it is going to vary a lot. I think one of the problems we see, or one of the incorrect assumptions that get made sometimes, is that the launch management team or the merchant success manager team are there to do everything, and they're not. They're there to help either project manage, they're help again to translate. Here's kind of how we're thinking about the world. Here's what new features look like. Here's new areas we're growing and developing, and help translate that into, and here's what it might mean for your business and why you may want to think about trying it. They're not actually there, though, to do stuff and to technically hop in and fix problems. And I think that's often one of the misconceptions that happens in the market.
Okay. These are coming in really hot, and I lose the ones I was going to ask. But so one of them says, did you say 10 instances for Shopify Plus stores? My client only got 3. So yes, I did say 10. As of February 1st, 2017, we changed our pricing model, and I was going to hit 2 birds with 1 stone because there's a question there on pricing. So February 1st, 2017, we announced new pricing. If you have clients already on Shopify Plus, talk to the merchant success manager responsible for that store, and they can give you the down low of where that merchant may be. The 10 instances are included for anyone who's signed up February 1st and beyond. If you don't know who the merchant success manager is, talk to your partner manager. Talk to us about anything and everything. We're here to help you. We'll connect you to the other people within Shopify. But we switched to a revenue-based model. So there was the question that said, our biz dev team has trouble selling the pricing. We say it's around $2,000 a month. That's perfect. If you plant the seed that Shopify Plus licensing starts at $2,000 a month, that's great. And then call us and let us do the contract negotiation on our end. For your education, it is 0.25% of their total monthly platform transactions. So that can scale up from $2,000 if they're seeing in excess of $800,000 a month. But again, we don't want to burden you guys with this. Your contracts and statements of work are usually more complex than ours. So best language is starts at $2,000 a month. Let me connect you with a sales rep who can go through the contract in more detail.
Okay, so 2 quick ones. So actually, there's a great question here. How many Magento enterprise merchants have migrated to Shopify Plus? And I would love to tell you. But I'm sorry.
That's a tease.
I can. But it's great. So there's another question here. Where do we see our biggest growth opportunity for sales in 2017? As Hannah shared with you, a lot of the business was built off of that emerging. And it continues to be a super hot area. We see a lot of emerging brands are growing quickly. And it just hit that point of I need more functionality, features, customization. I need a merchant success manager. So that continues to be a growth area, but increasingly it's that expanding bucket we talked about. And they're coming off of kind of mid-sized platforms, but we talked through some of those pains. ROI is killing them. They're freaking out about infrastructure, Black Friday, Cyber Monday. We set up a bot on Black Friday or Cyber Monday that just basically was just watching for sites to go down. And the file we got was just enormous. So the pain exists out there, and I think in that expanding set, we see huge opportunity for growth. And they're starting to come to us and raise a hand and say, yeah, let's get proactive and think about what the future is. Also, B2B and wholesale, that's an area of growth for us right now and an area we're actively exploring, and we see big opportunity there. That's a whole untapped market we haven't historically gone after. And then the last is international. We've been very focused on the North American market. You heard Lauren talk a lot about global. We need to think global, be global, act global. And we are selling today globally, but I've got sales reps up at midnight sitting in Waterloo or Ottawa doing calls with New Zealand or Australia or somewhere in Europe. And that model, it's not a great one. And so we are actively thinking about, hey, how do we better support international growth? So I would say those are some of the kind of key areas we see for 2017.
All right, I'll take one last one and then I'll give it to you.
Perfect.
So this question is, when a prospect identifies that they'll need an app, how are the salespeople deciding what apps to introduce? Is this a standardized process or is it ad hoc? So we have many, many apps in our ecosystem, as you're all aware. And the sales team, we actually have an apps team within Shopify that works on educating us internally. New apps are published on the daily from amazing partners who are probably here today, might be sitting in the apps track. But so it'll go off of kind of previous use cases as well. If we know that there's an app that we've vetted, that we've seen another client have success with, we'll make a recommendation, but at the end of the day, it is the prospect's kind of final call in it. We are working on formal technology partnerships with Shopify Plus as well. And those will be app partners that we work really closely with, so we know it's vetted, tried, true. We know that app a little more in detail. It would be impossible for us to know all 5,000 plus. I think that's probably a very wrong number, however many apps we have in our app store. But yeah, so standardized to a bit of just what we've seen success with. And then we're doing some more formal technology partnerships as well for Shopify Plus needs that the Plus merchants will have.
And some of you are very bored. How come Canadians have so much better hair? You want to take that one?
It's all yours. You took the last one.
All right, the last one, and Alicia just answered a bit of it. We're just about out of time, but it basically says, you're talking a lot about how we can sell Shopify. Will you be selling or pushing clients to your technology partners as well? And Alicia just talked about kind of the App Store and how we view it. We're out actively in the market selling. We have a lot of people coming to us. Almost all of them need apps, they need technology partners, they need agencies. And so we do actively push them out into our ecosystem. We try to be as neutral as we can. And so we'll generally go to our partners team and say, okay, here's the situation, here's what we're looking at. Who would you recommend? And they'll come back and say, here's 3 or 4 that we think are probably a best fit, expertise, location, et cetera. And then we'll let the merchant make the decision. So we're doing our best to not play favorites, to direct one way or the other, but rather just to say, here's some great things, merchant. You can have a look at it and make a decision on it. So anyways, thanks for your time this afternoon. As I mentioned, we'll be around. Love talking sales, by all means.